I want to start today by invoking a specific feeling.
Okay.
I think it's something pretty universal, whether you are, currently learning a second language or honestly, even if you're just trying to sound a bit more polished in your first one.
We love universal feelings. Go on, set the scene for us.
Okay, picture this. You're at a dinner party or maybe like a high-stakes networking event.
Oh, the pressure's on already.
The pressure is on. You're wearing your best outfit, you're holding a drink, and you are speaking your target language. And technically, you are crushing it. You know the vocabulary for hors d'oeuvres and mergers and acquisitions. Your grammar is quote-unquote correct.
Right. The grammar police would not arrest you.
Exactly. They'd have nothing on you. You're conjugating the verbs. You're placing the adjectives in all the right spots. You are not making mistakes.
But I sense a but coming.
But you feel like a robot.
Ah! The C-3PO effect. Yes.
Totally. You feel like this highly advanced AI that has been programmed to communicate data, but it hasn't quite figured out how to be, human yet.
Right. You're getting the information across. The facts are there.
Yeah. The food is good. The project is late. I like this song. But there's no flavor. There's no rhythm. It's just flat.
And you can see it in the other person's eyes, can't you?
Oh, you can totally see it. They're listening. They are nodding. But they aren't captivated. Their eyes are glazing over just a little bit.
That is such a painful place to be. It's what we often call the intermediate plateau. But you're right, it can actually happen even when you're quite advanced.
It's a fluency ceiling.
It is. It's the difference between being functional and being fluent. Or, to put a finer point on it, it's the difference between building a shed and designing a cathedral.
Ooh, I love that analogy. Tell me more.
Well, both will keep the rain off your head, right? A shed works. It's practical. It has 4 walls and a roof.
Gets the job done.
But only the cathedral is going to make you stop and look up and just stare. Only one feels like art. Only one makes you feel something.
And that feeling,
yeah,
that artfulness, that is exactly what we are unpacking today.
I'm ready.
We are looking at a really, really fascinating discussion from the Advanced Learner Studio, specifically a conversation between hosts Emma and John. They call this concept the architecture of fluency.
It's a fantastic title.
Yeah.
It immediately clicks. It implies that language isn't just a bag of words you shake out onto the table.
All right, not just a pile of bricks.
No, it has structure. It has design. It has, weight-bearing walls and decorative arches. What Emma and John are really getting at in this source material is moving from that C1 advanced level,
C1,
where you're good, you're competent, to that C2 mastery level.
where you sound effortless.
That's the word. Effortless.
And just to orient everyone, because we do throw these terms around C1, C2, for anyone listening who isn't like a professional linguist, moving from C1 to C2 is basically the difference between someone saying, wow, you speak English very well, and someone saying, wait, hold on, are you a native speaker?
Precisely. That's a perfect way to put it. C1 is I can work in this language. C2 is I can live, dream, persuade, and crucially, tell a joke in this language.
Ah, the joke. The final frontier.
It really is. And the source material we have today is actually part 2 of a series they were doing on something they call syntactic complexity.
Which, I have to be honest, sounds absolutely terrifying. Syntactic complexity.
It does.
It sounds like something that requires a graphing calculator, a PhD, and a lot of aspirin.
It does sound a bit academic, doesn't it? Like something from a dusty textbook, chalkboard dust. But as we're going to see, it's actually deeply practical.
So in their previous discussion, they talked about the tools. Is that right?
Yes. The nuts and bolts. Things like conjunctions, relative clauses, appositives, all the stuff you might have learned in a grammar class and then promptly forgotten.
Okay, so they've covered the what.
Right. But today's deep dive is all about the application.
This is the important part. The mission for us, for this deep dive, is simple. How do we take those tools out of the toolbox and actually build something with them in a real-time conversation?
Right.
Because as John points out in the source, I felt this in my soul, knowing a tool exists is very, very different from grabbing it instinctively when you're in the middle of a story and your adrenaline is pumping.
That is the core conflict here. It is the gap between knowledge and performance. You can know what a relative clause is when you see it in a book. You can circle it with a red pen.
You can ace the test.
You can explain it to a student. But can you summon one when you're trying to explain to your boss why the quarterly report is 3 days late and it wasn't your fault?
Right.
That's a completely different cognitive load.
It really is. It's like knowing how a karate kick works in theory, versus being able to do it when someone is actually swinging at you.
Exactly. The pressure changes everything.
So our goal today is to help you escape that plateau. We want to show you how to sound sophisticated without feeling like your brain is going to melt out of your ears.
Let's get into the architecture.
Okay, let's unpack this first major hurdle. In the source, John makes a confession that I think is just so relatable. He talks about falling into a specific rhythm trap. He calls it the SVO addiction.
Subject, verb, object. The holy trinity of English grammar. The default setting.
Right, the classic. And he gives this example of his own speech patterns. He says, even when he's trying to be descriptive, it comes out like this. I went to work. I saw my boss. I finished the report.
It's the linguistic equivalent of a metronome set to a very, very boring beat. Tick-tock, tick, tick-tock, tick.
It really is subject, verb, object. Subject, verb, object.
And you can hear it in so many learner speech, and even native speakers, to be honest.
Oh, for sure. And he makes this really great point that even if you dress it up, the skeleton is the same. You could say, the tired I went to work, the angry boss looked at me. You're adding adjectives.
But it's still SVO.
Still SVO.
Exactly. You're just painting the bricks different colors, but you're laying them in the exact same straight line. You aren't changing the shape of the wall.
Why is this such a problem, though? I mean, technically, I went to work is a perfect sentence. Why does it make us sound, well, lesser?
Because listeners tune out. It's almost biological. The human brain craves novelty. We are pattern-seeking machines, right?
Right.
But when every sentence follows the exact same trajectory, actor, action, target, the brain starts to predict the pattern. And when we can predict the pattern perfectly, we stop paying close attention. It creates a monotonous listening experience. It becomes a drone.
It's like listening to a song that only has one chord. Or like a drum machine that only plays the same beat for 5 minutes.
A single chord. That's a perfect analogy. Eventually, you just stop hearing the music.
And in a conversation, that means you lose your ability to influence, to entertain, to persuade.
You sound less fluent, even if your grammar is perfect. That's the crazy part.
So you're saying that even if your grammar is 100% perfect, if you stick to this rhythm, you sound less fluent.
You sound less competent. That's the harsh reality of it. Fluency is so much about flow and cohesion and connection. When you speak in these choppy, identical segments, you sound like you are translating directly from a very simple thought process.
A very linear thought process.
Yes, you aren't weaving a tapestry, you're just laying bricks one by one. And honestly, it sounds childish. Think about children's books.
See, spot, run.
Exactly. See, Spot runs. Spot runs fast. Spot likes the ball. That is SVO in its purest form.
Laying bricks. I like that image because if you just lay bricks in a line, you build a wall. You don't build a house. You definitely don't build a cathedral.
Not even close.
So the source material pivots here to the solution. Emma introduces this concept of syntactic variety.
Which is just a fancy linguist way of saying, mix it up.
Right. Don't be boring.
Please, for the love of God, just mix it up. And she uses that analogy that you'll appreciate. She compares sentence structure to music or architecture. She says you can't use the same brick for every part of the house.
Makes sense.
I mean, if you build a house entirely out of door frames, it's going to be a terrible house.
A very drafty house.
Very drafty. You need windows, you need foundations, you need roofing. In language, you need short, punchy sentences for impact, and SVO is great for that, by the way.
It has its place.
It absolutely has its place. But you also need long, winding sentences for context and nuance. You need variation.
It's about texture, right?
It is. If SVO is a simple drum beat, syntactic variety is the melody, the harmony, and the silence in between, all of it working together.
So let's look at the first specific tool they offer to break this SVO addiction. Emma introduces a technique called fronting.
Fronting.
Now, when John hears this in the episode, he immediately gets nervous. He says it sounds technical. And I get that.
I get it too.
Fronting sounds like something you do in a business deal or a battle strategy, or maybe like money laundering. I'm fronting the money.
It does sound intense, but the concept is beautifully simple. It just means taking something that usually lives at the back of the sentence, like a time or a place or a condition, and moving it to the very front.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics here. The goal is to stop starting every sentence with I or thee.
Exactly, because if you look at that SVO trap, I went, I saw, I did, the subject is always the anchor. I am the star of the show. Fronting shifts the spotlight. It changes the camera angle.
The source gives a great example that I think everyone can visualize. The standard, safe sentence is, I went to the gym after work.
Perfectly correct sentence. I've probably said that exact sentence 1,000 times in my life.
Totally fine, but boring. I is the subject. Went is the verb. After work is just tacked on at the end. It's the caboose on the train.
Right. It's an afterthought.
So how does fronting change this?
You take that time phrase after work and you front it. You physically move it to the beginning. So it becomes, after work, I went to the gym.
It seems like such a tiny change. Does that really make a difference? It feels like we're just, I don't know, shuffling furniture on the Titanic.
It makes a huge difference. Think about what you're asking the listener to focus on. In the first version, I went to the gym, the focus is on you and the action.
Right, on I.
In the second version, after work, you are setting the scene first. You are grounding the listener in a timeline before you tell them the action.
It's almost cinematic. It's like an establishing shot in a movie. Chicago, 1920. Then the action starts.
Exactly. And more importantly, and this is the key for fluency, it improves the flow between sentences. This is what we call cohesion.
No.
If the previous sentence was about your busy day at the office, starting the next sentence with after work creates a logical link. It acts as a bridge.
Ah, I see that now. So if I say, my boss was yelling at me all day, I went to the gym after work, that's two separate blocks of information.
Yeah. Right. Two separate Lego bricks. But if you say, my boss was yelling at me all day, after work I went to the gym, the transition is smoother. It implies a sequence. It flows.
Okay, that makes sense. Emma takes this a step further in the source, doesn't she? She brings in something called participle phrases.
Yes, this is the advanced version of fronting. This is where you really start to sound sophisticated. This is where you're building arches, not just walls.
So the example they use involves going to bed. The standard version is, I was tired, so I went to bed.
SVO again. I was tired.
And it's clunky, right? It uses the word so as a crutch.
Oh, so is the biggest crutch. I was hungry, so I ate. I was tired, so I slept. It's very cause and effect, but in a primitive, almost robotic way. It's functional logic, but it's not graceful speech.
So how did the participle phrase fix this?
You turn I was tired into a descriptive phrase at the front using a participle. In this case, the verb to be becomes being. It becomes being tired, I went to bed.
Oh, that sounds so much classier. Being tired, I went to bed. It sounds like something you'd read in a Jane Austen novel.
It does. It's elegant.
Yeah.
And it implies the cause and effect relationship without having to hammer it home with the word so.
Right.
It treats the listener as intelligent. It says, here's the state I was in being tired, and here's the action that naturally followed. It trusts you to make the connection.
It's a linguistic bridge. That's the term from the source.
That's the key term Emma uses, a linguistic bridge. It connects the previous thought to the current action smoothly. It stops the robot from starting and stopping with each new thought.
Can we try another example just to make sure I've got this? Let's say I finished the email, and then I closed my laptop.
Okay. Standard SVO. I finished. I closed. Two separate actions. How would you use a participle phrase there?
Okay. So the first action is finishing. The verb is finish. So I would say, having finished the email, I closed my laptop.
Boom. Perfect. Having finished the email, I closed my laptop. Do you hear the difference? Do you feel it?
You know, it feels lighter. It's faster. It's more efficient.
It consolidates the information. Instead of two choppy events, it's one single flow. That is architecture. And notice you're saying the exact same thing. You aren't adding any new information. You're just packaging it differently.
And that packaging is what makes you sound like a master.
That's it.
Okay, so we have fronting. We have participle phrases. These are the bricks. But now we need to talk about how to actually practice this. Because as John points out, and that this is the big hurdle, knowing this stuff is great, but how do you get it into your brain so it comes out of your mouth automatically?
Right.
Because I can't be pausing for 5 seconds in a conversation to like conjugate a participle.
No, that would be socially awkward. One moment, please. I'm accessing my grammar file.
Exactly. You'd get weird looks. So this is where the source material gets really actionable. Emma suggests an exercise called sentence combining.
This is a classic exercise, actually. It's used in writing instruction a lot, but Emma is applying it to spoken fluency, which is brilliant.
I love this because it feels like a puzzle. It feels like a game.
It is a puzzle, and the problem it solves is crucial. It stops you from treating grammar like a math problem and helps you develop intuition.
Intuition over math.
Yeah.
That's the goal right there. So tell us about this exercise. How does it work?
The idea is to take a cluster of very simple related sentences, baby sentences, really.
Like the C-spot run sentence.
Exactly like those. And you challenge yourself to fuse them into one single cohesive statement without losing any of the meaning. You are the architect, and these simple sentences are your raw materials.
Okay, let's do the case study from the source. This is the black cat example.
The black cat, simple, stark visuals, very Edgar Allan Poe.
So here are the raw materials. 3 simple sentences.
Lay them on me.
1, the cat was black. 2, the cat sat on the fence. And 3, the fence was old.
Very choppy, very C-spot run. If you spoke like this, people would think you were a telegram from the 1920s. SOP.
Exactly. Yeah. So John takes a crack at this in the episode. His first attempt, let's call it level 1, is the black cat sat on the old fence.
Okay. Now, let's analyze that. Is it correct?
Yeah.
Did he combine them?
Yes.
But did he change the structure significantly?
No.
No. He just took the adjectives black and old and pasted them onto the nouns like stickers. It's still SVO. The cat sat. The core rhythm is unchanged.
So it's efficient, but it's not architecture yet. It's a shed. It's a well-built shed, but it's a shed.
Right. It's functional. It works. It gets the job done. But it's not mastery. It doesn't sing.
So what's level 2? What is the goal here? What cathedral can we build from these bricks?
The goal is to use those tools we just talked about, fronting, participles, relative clauses, to shift the focus, to create a specific image, to control how the listener imagines the cat.
Okay, give me an option.
Well, Emma suggests a couple. One is, sitting on the old fence, the cat was black.
Ah, there's that participle phrase, sitting on the old fence.
You create the image of the location first, then you clarify the subject. It creates a tiny bit of suspense. It paints the background before dropping the main character into the scene. It's more visually interesting.
It really is. Okay, what's another option?
Option B, which I think sounds very literary, is the cat, which was black, sat on the old fence.
Okay, so that uses a relative clause, which was black, to interrupt the main sentence.
Exactly. It's an interruption that adds extra detail. And that creates a nice rhythm. Dum-da-da-dum, dum-da-da-dum. It adds texture. It suggests that the blackness of the cat is an important, noteworthy detail, not just a casual adjective.
Okay, so why is this specific exercise, taking these simple cat sentences and remixing them, why is that so effective for fluency? Why not just read a really well-written book?
Because it's active, not passive. Reading a book is great, but it's passive consumption. You see the structure, you appreciate it, you understand it, you move on. But sentence combining is low-stakes production.
Low stakes, I like that.
You aren't trying to hold a conversation with a native speaker while doing it. You have the text in front of you. You can play with it. You can move the pieces around. It trains your brain to look at a thought and see possibilities.
So instead of just one path.
Right. Instead of seeing just one way to say it, the cat sat, you start to see 3 or 4 options. That flexibility, that ability to choose the best structure for the moment, that is fluency.
It's like practicing scales on a piano. You do it over and over so that when you're performing, your fingers just know where to go. You don't have to think about it.
That's a perfect analogy. You are building the neural pathways. You are strengthening the relative clause muscle and the participle muscle so that when you're in a real conversation, your brain can say, hey, let's use a participle phrase here without you having to stop and consciously calculate it.
Right.
It moves the skill from explicit knowledge stuff you have to think about to implicit knowledge stuff you just do.
That makes total sense. It's about training the reflex. But, and this is there is a barrier here. And it's not grammatical. It's psychological.
The fear factor.
Oh, yeah. John brings this up, and I felt this in my soul. He talks about the hesitation. He said he knows how to make the complex sentence, but he's terrified that if he tries to be fancy, he's going to mess it up.
The trip over my own words syndrome. We've all been there.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're halfway through a sentence, you try to do a which was or an although, and suddenly you lose the thread. You lose track of where you were going. You forget the verb. You use the wrong preposition.
And you crash and burn.
You crash and burn. And you feel so foolish.
It's a horrible feeling. It's like tripping on the sidewalk in front of a crowd of people. It's social pain. It's embarrassing.
And so, to avoid that crash, what do? You revert to safety. You go back to SVO. I went. I saw. It was good.
And Emma identifies this in the source as the single biggest barrier to fluency. It's not vocabulary size. It's not accent. It's risk aversion.
Wow.
We are so afraid of looking stupid that we choose to sound boring.
That is such a powerful insight. We stay in the intermediate plateau because it's safe.
She's absolutely right. And her advice here is powerful, almost philosophical. You must embrace the mess.
Embrace the mess. I like that.
Language acquisition is inherently messy. It is a biological process, not just an academic one. It's wet, it's chaotic, it's not neat. Emma argues, and I completely agree, that it is better to attempt a complex sentence and make a minor grammar error
Then to what?
than to speak perfectly correct, simple sentences for the rest of your life.
Because if you stay safe, you stay stagnant. You never grow.
Exactly. If you never push the boundaries of your syntactic architecture, you will never expand it. If you never try to build the cathedral because you're afraid a brick might fall, you'll live in a shed forever. You have to be willing to lay a few crooked bricks to learn how to build an arch.
John brings up a really interesting point about feedback here, too, which connects to this. He mentions his friend Sarah, who corrects his English.
Right.
And he admits that he used to find it really annoying.
Which is a very human reaction. Nobody likes to be corrected. It feels like criticism. It feels like, hey, I'm trying my best here. Stop picking on me.
It can feel very personal. But the source suggests a reframe, a shift in perspective. You have to stop viewing correction as you did something wrong and start viewing it as data.
That's the shift. It's not judgment, it's data. If Sarah corrects your preposition, she's not saying you're dumb. She's giving you a data point about how the language actually works in the wild.
Wait.
If you trip over a complex sentence and someone looks confused, that's data about clarity. You cannot build the architecture without testing the materials.
It's like stress testing a bridge. If it cracks, you don't get mad at the bridge. You know where to reinforce it.
Exactly. Every mistake is a map to where you need to go next. If you never make mistakes, you aren't mapping new territory. You're just walking in circles in your own backyard.
So we've got the tools fronting, combining. We've got the mindset, embrace the mess. Now we need a mechanism for feedback that doesn't rely on having a friend named Sarah.
True. Not everyone has a Sarah. And Sarah might get tired of correcting you eventually.
So what's the tool?
The mirror.
The dreaded mirror. In this case, audio recording.
The tool that everyone hates. Universally.
Oh, I hate it. Listening to my own voice. It's nightmare fuel. I would rather walk on Legos.
It's visceral, isn't it? We all cringe. We all think, do I really sound like that? But Emma insists it's necessary. It's a painful tool.
Why? Why do we have to torture ourselves like this?
Because when we speak, we don't really hear ourselves. Not accurately. We hear what we intended to say. We hear the perfect, eloquent version that exists in our heads.
Right. Inside my brain, I sound like a poet. I sound like Morgan Freeman. I'm charming. I'm witty.
Exactly. But the recording device is objective. It is brutally honest. It doesn't care about your intentions. It captures the reality.
And the reality is often humbling.
To say the least. And what usually happens is you hear the patterns you didn't know you had. You hear the ums, the uhs, and the SVO addiction. You realize, wow, I started 5 sentences in a row with "and then."
And this brings us to my absolute favorite part of the source material. The suit of armor story.
This is such a great case study. It illustrates everything we've been talking about so perfectly.
So John recounts this experience. He was at a coffee shop, just a normal day, and he sees a barista wearing a full suit of armor.
As one does, just a casual Tuesday latte run in medieval garb.
Chainmail, plate metal, the helmet tucked under the arm, the works. And John wants to tell this story. It's a great story. It's inherently interesting.
You can't mess this up, right?
You would think. But he records himself telling it, and he realizes he fell right into the end trap.
Let's imagine what that sounded like. It was probably something like, I went to the coffee shop, and then I saw a barista, and then I saw he was wearing armor.
And then he told me it was for a play.
No.
And then I got my coffee.
It just kills the story. The content is gold, a guy in armor, but the delivery is lead. It's dead on arrival.
Why? Why is it so bad?
It flattens the excitement because every piece of information is given the exact same weight. I went to the shop gets the same emphasis as he was wearing a full suit of armor.
It's a laundry list, not a narrative.
Exactly. There is no hierarchy of information, no drama, no suspense.
So John decides to reconstruct it. He goes into architect mode, and he comes up with this masterpiece. I'm going to read this slowly because it is just beautiful.
Let's hear it.
He says, "While I was ordering coffee, I noticed the barista was wearing a suit of armor, which he explained was for a play, although no one else seemed to notice."
Now that is a sentence. That is architecture. That's a cathedral in one sentence.
It's so good. Let's break it down. Why does this work so much better than the and then version?
Okay, let's look at the components. First, he starts with the subordinating conjunction,
What?
while I was ordering coffee.
That's the fronting we were talking about.
Exactly. He sets the scene immediately. He tells us when this is happening before telling us what happened. It creates a little bit of suspense. It grounds us. It says background information incoming.
Okay, what's next?
Then he hits you with the main clause. I noticed the barista was wearing a suit of armor. That's the core event, the anchor, the big reveal.
But he doesn't stop there. He doesn't put a period there.
No, and this is the brilliance. He uses a relative clause, which he explained was for a play.
That adds the context without starting a new sentence. It tucks the information neatly inside. It's like a little pocket in the sentence.
A perfect description. And then the chef's kiss at the end. Oh. Although no one else seemed to notice.
The contrast.
The contrast. It adds humor. It adds nuance. It adds this whole other layer of absurdity to the scene. By connecting all these thoughts, the setting, the event, the explanation, and the public reaction into one structure, he weaves a narrative.
He's not just listing facts, he's telling a story. He's guiding the listener's emotion.
He's controlling the experience.
It flows. It feels like one continuous thought rather than 4 separate bullet points.
And that is the definition of C2 fluency. That ability to package complex time, causation, and description into a single breath group. It shows you have control over the language rather than the language controlling you.
But, and here's the reality check. John admits he didn't do that spontaneously. He couldn't just produce that on the spot. He had to go back and build it.
And that leads to the final strategy from the source, which is so important. Draft, then craft.
I love this because it takes the pressure off.
It totally does. Emma makes a great point here. She says that even in writing, which we think of as this polished thing, you don't get it right the first time. You have the choppy draft where you just get the ideas out on the page.
The brain dump.
The brain dump. Then you have the architect phase where you go back and you combine and refine and polish.
She suggests applying this mindset to speaking. Now, obviously in a live conversation, you can't really edit yourself in post-production. You can't say, hold on, delete that, let me try again.
No, but you can practice the mindset. You can practice reconstructing your thoughts. If you tell a story and it feels choppy and flat, delegate it to yourself in the car on the way home. Try to combine the sentences.
Or before a big meeting.
Yes. Before a big meeting, don't just memorize your bullet points. Think about how to link them. Think about the conjunctions. We hit our targets, although we face some headwinds. Because of this success, we can now invest. You're practicing the architecture.
It's about being willing to iterate, to treat speech as something you can refine. It's not a one-time performance that just disappears into the ether. It's a skill you can actively polish.
Precisely. And there's a really important nuance here that Emma brings up near the end of the source. We've been talking a lot about making sentences longer and more complex.
Right.
We've been praising the long, winding sentence, but she clarifies that the goal isn't just length for length's sake.
Thank you. Because you don't want to sound like a Victorian novel where one sentence goes on for 3 pages and you forget the subject by the time you reach the verb.
That would be exhausting in a different way. That's not architecture, that's just clutter. The goal is the clearest, most engaging picture.
Balance and rhythm.
Exactly. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is a short sentence. A punch.
Like what?
The cat was black. Period. If you want to emphasize the stark blackness, keep it short. It has impact. But if you want to weave a whole scene, that's when you use the complex structure.
So mastery is knowing which tool to use when.
That's it. You don't use a hammer for everything. Sometimes you need a screwdriver. Sometimes you need a saw. Sometimes you need a sledgehammer. That's your short SVO sentence. And sometimes you need a scalpel. That's your delicate relative clause.
So if we look at the roadmap provided by this deep dive, it's actually pretty straightforward, isn't it?
It is. It's very actionable.
Step 1, practice sentence combining. Play with those simple sentences. Treat it like a game.
Make it fun. Low stakes.
Step 2, use fronting to vary your rhythm. Get comfortable starting sentences with after, while, or being. Just try it.
Even if it feels weird at first.
Step 3, don't be afraid of the mess. Embrace the error as data. That's a huge one.
The mindset shift.
And step 4, use the mirror. Record yourself, find the patterns, and then consciously architect a better version.
And I would add, be patient. Except that fluency is a marathon. It's a process of building, tearing down, and rebuilding better structures. You aren't going to build the cathedral in a day.
It's empowering, honestly. It takes the mystery out of it. It's not some innate magical talent. It's not magic. It's just architecture.
It is. And once you start seeing the beams and the supports, the witches and all those, the whole language opens up to you.
Oh.
You stop seeing a list of words and you start seeing designs.
Before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with a thought that came up while I was prepping this.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about using recording as a mirror for your second language. But here's a provocative question. When was the last time you listened to a recording of yourself speaking your native language?
Ooh, that is an interesting question. Almost never for me.
Right. If you recorded your last phone call or your last presentation in your mother tongue, would you find architectural flaws? Do you have an and-then addiction, even in your own language?
That's a fascinating thought.
Are you using the same three-sentence structures over and over again out of habit?
We assume we are masters of our native tongue, but often we are just comfortable. We're on autopilot. We might be just as monotonous, but because we are fluent and nobody corrects us, we get a free pass.
Exactly. We might be living in a linguistic shed and not even realize it. So maybe the challenge this week isn't just for your target language. Maybe it's about becoming a better architect of communication, period.
A more conscious communicator in general.
Whether you're building in English, Spanish, Japanese, or your native tongue, build a cathedral, not a shed.
I love that.
Something to think about. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.
Bye for now.